Steve Alford, welcome to the Seth Davis Show.
Thank you.
Good to see you in the new digs. Now, I wanted you sitting exactly where you are because I'm looking over my shoulder here. Can you count those trophies? Or
Yeah.
It's a lot of trophies.
109 in one room. It's probably the most impressive place. We obviously think Pauley Pavilion, and I really enjoy walking by Coach Wooden's statue and going into Pauley every day. But anytime you need to really come down to earth of knowing what UCLA is all about, just walk into this room.
I would say walk in this room and maybe take the first flight back to Albuquerque. It's pretty,
That's right.
pretty intimidating.
It's a very
right?
intimidating room.
I mean, you were in a really good situation in New Mexico. You had it rolling, just signed a new contract to be there a long time, great place to live.
Right.
When you got the call from Dan Guerrero here at UCLA, was it immediately, boy, that's one I really want, or did you have to think about whether or not you wanted to put yourself in a position where those trophies were going to be hovering?
Yeah, it's 4 letters for one, and a very special 4 letters. I think probably the best brand anywhere. When you see UCLA, you understand the power of that brand. So it immediately gets your attention. But then after things settle down, you do start to think, because you're right, Seth, I loved Albuquerque, loved the University of New Mexico. We had things in place from staff to players, arguably my best team in 7 years coming back. We had depth, size, great guard play, good people up front, experience, 6 championships in 6 years. Everything was going at a very high level. And I just think after looking into everything from my children to being 48 years of age, and if you're going to make one more move, UCLA is a pretty good move to make. And after I started really thinking about it, talking to the family, talking to my dad about things, there's so many positives about here. Do you have pressure? Yeah, but there's pressure everywhere. The one thing we weren't able to do is get New Mexico to the Sweet 16. So, that pressure was going to be there even after all the wins that we've been doing there. So there's pressure in every job, and it may get more intense in a lot of other places. But UCLA is a place that national championships have been won and can be won. And in the end, that brand was very powerful in my mind.
I mean, at any point in those conversations, and I know you have great confidence in your own abilities, as well you should, did you ever ask Dan Guerrero, why me? Because certainly there are a lot of guys who would love to have this job.
Yeah. No, I don't think so. I think I always ask him, one of those things, through the process of just, how do you get to me and those type of things. We just had an early exit in the NCAA tournament that wasn't a lot of fun. Obviously, it had a lot of success, and a team that had won championships, and our kids are graduating. We know we do it the right way. So you want to make sure, just like it is in recruiting, that it's a win-win. And I think as I started looking into it, and Dan started looking into it, it was a great win-win. And
I mean, do you have a sense of the answer to that question, though? I mean, what is it about you, your makeup, your background, your skill set, that was the reason why you were the guy who was tapped for this?
Yeah, probably better question for Dan, but 22 years in the business. I've been at BCS schools in Iowa. This is my fifth job now, starting way back at Manchester, where I got my start at the age of 26, and now having 22 teams under my belt, and having, we've had a lot of success. And I've had to deal and manage with a lot of different kids, a lot of different situations. So hopefully my overall experience, both as a player and as a coach, come into mind, and that I'm still young enough that I've got a lot of energy and a passion to try to carry this torch and try to get number 12. I wore 12 at Indiana, so trying to get that 12th championship's the goal. When you talk about UCLA, you are talking about the pinnacle of college basketball, an incredible university that wants something from New Mexico, and it's about as good a compliment as I can give UNM.
People think that these decisions are so easy and simple. It's not just that you're coming to a place, you're leaving a place. And I know what you felt about New Mexico. And people, let's face it, get pretty cynical about this stuff, because you did just sign, or at least negotiate and announce a big, renegotiation at New Mexico. Now, I defend coaches on this, because the reality is, regardless of whatever contractual situation they have, if you don't win, you get fired. So I'm all for it, but I think you can see why people do get kind of disillusioned. The guy just said, I'm staying, and now he's leaving.
There's no question. I had made a verbal agreement. That's where I wanted to be. I loved it there. I just had no idea this phone call was going to come, you know, and sometimes you can't help timing. But I totally get that, Seth. I get, you know, fans that maybe not understand it. And I think that's why maybe behind the scenes, the fans probably truly don't know in New Mexico the amount of work in the next 48 hours that I did. Getting Craig Neal to be, who was my associate head coach, helping him through that process of getting the administration to understand why he should be the head basketball coach. Every one of my assistants kept their job. I brought Dwayne Broussard with me here. All the other assistants, trainer, strength coach stayed at New Mexico. So it's very uncommon that when a head coach changes jobs, either through a firing or changing, that others are impacted in a negative way. Usually, for instance, myself taking this job at UCLA, maybe I'm able to bring one guy with me. Well, then 4 guys are out of a job. Maybe a trainer's out of a job, a strength coach is out of a job. Nobody was out of a job when I made this and that's what I'm most proud of, that I was able to, come to a dream place like this for me in my career, but my entire staff. You know, Coach Neal's deserving to be a head coach, and now he's a head coach. He gets a chance to coach his son like I'm getting to do here at UCLA. So there's a lot of positives that ended up working out. Doesn't take away the hurt. And to be honest with you, there's still a lot of times in 5 months I've thought back, just like I did at New Mexico, you know, why do you leave Iowa? And when I was at Iowa, why do you leave Missouri State? And then to this day, when you walk into a room like this and see 109 national, why didn't you just stay at Manchester? Why didn't you just stay at a very comfortable place where you win a lot of games and no scholarships? So, you know, those things are always going to go through your mind. And I think that's why I'm very blessed that each of the stops I've had have had a lot of meaning to me and the players that I've coached and the people I've worked for.